call the committee, this joint committee on education and the committee on government operations to order. Welcome our chair of GOV and new members, welcome. So today is Wednesday, April 8th, and we're in conference room 229, and this hearing is being streamed live on YouTube. And if we must end this hearing due to technical issues, the committee will not reconvene. No, I'm sorry, the committee will reconvene on, what is today, Wednesday, on Friday, although the deadline will be in effect, in conference room 229, and a public notice will be posted on Hawaii State Legislature website, and that's at 1 p.m. And due to the number of measures, we do have a lot of measures today. Everybody wants their resolutions heard, trying to accommodate everybody. Each one of the testifiers will have 1 minute, will be limited to 1 minute in testifying. And if any technical issues arise during the Zoom testimony, the committee may need to proceed to the next testifier, and we do have your written testimony on file. So here we are, starting out with the first joint item, which is Senate Concurrent Resolution 201, Senate Resolution 189, requesting the Department of Education to reissue requests for proposals for the Job Order Contracting Program, contractors and pre-qualified small contractors to ensure the continuity of future School Now program. And with that, we have DOE.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chairs, member of the committees. Jesse Suki, Deputy Superintendent of Operations for the Department of Education. We are standing on our testimony and support. We support the JOC, or Job Order Contract Program, and we are actually in the process of issuing new RFPs for these. Thank you.
Okay, why don't you just sit there? Johnny May Perry, individual in support, not here. Anyone else wishing to testify on this measure? Hearing none. Members, any questions? Chair, question?
No.
Okay, I do. I have a number of questions. Surprise, surprise. Okay, so this program has been in effect, correct?
Yes.
Okay, how long has it been in effect?
We have data going back to 2019.
Okay, and when did the contract expire?
Contracts. They're in different stages of expiration, but we've continued them until we can get the new RFPs out.
Why is that? Why is it taking you so long? My understanding is an RFP was ready to go and then it didn't go, and now we're continuing.
Well, we've put one out and then we have others in line. It takes working with the AG to get the terms right, and we're making some effort there to ensure that it meets more of the IDIQ requirements that the AG likes to see in these job order contracts. So we're making those changes.
So what happened in the contract prior to the one? I mean, you obviously worked with the AG on those, so what's different?
That was before my time, and I'm not sure how that was processed, but we work closely with the AG on all of our contracts.
Right, but in the meantime, this has been ongoing, so DOE has not had the time to meet with the AG to get this moving?
It is moving.
Yeah, but after how long?
Well, we put one out, we have others that are going out, yes.
Yeah.
Which is why we support the resolution.
Right, I know you do. And why do you think we put the resolution? Because there's been a delay, because you've not been getting it out timely. That's why we have these resolutions. So I'm glad that you folks are in support of it, but just being in support is not enough. It's like, you guys need to be acting timely. We have such a backlog. Mm-hmm. Okay, the other question is, does the principals know about this program, that they can utilize it?
They don't utilize the job order contracting directly. The OFO uses it when it's responding to projects.
No, but I thought that was the whole purpose of these small contracts, that principals can, for small items, go right to the contractors and not have to go through the whole process. Isn't that the whole purpose of this?
If it's a school-initiated project, we have guidance out for the principals and the CASs that they've reviewed, and if it's a school-initiated project, they can go through that process and coordinate with our office, OFO, and it might go through a job order contracting, which helps expedite the process.
Right, because I've heard the principals say, oh, we didn't know about this, or could have this to do the door that we needed replaced, stuff like that. But again, if the people that need it don't know it's there, whose job is it to make sure that the principals and the schools know what are all the resources so that they don't have to wait, they don't have to have delays?
Yeah.
Whose job is that?
So they may or may not know about the particular mechanisms used for procurement for their projects, but they do know about the guidance for school-initiated projects, which they can follow. And
So, but who ensures that they understand and know this?
well,
Whose
we do
role is
train, well, the guidance was sent out, I'm sorry, I don't have the date exactly. I believe it was November of last year. It went out to all of the CASs and principals with the guidance for school-initiated projects and school-initiated, or the CIP process, and also school
So
ACs.
shouldn't it be then the CASs to work with, they work the closest with the principals?
We also do training.
Yeah,
We did
and
some
you do
training on this,
trainings
yeah.
To do this?
Yeah, we did, yes.
Okay, well, obviously there's a disconnect because a lot of principals don't realize that they have this available. And if they don't realize it, that means somewhere along the line, either they didn't get the information, they didn't read it, the CASs didn't make sure that they got it. And so those are the kinds of things that we hear, and that's why these resolutions surface, because of that. So I hope you folks look at these resolutions and seeing why, it's not just, oh yeah, we're doing it or we're gonna do it, but why? Why is it they're bringing it up? Because we're getting complaints.
No, we take these resolutions very seriously.
So I
yeah.
don't make these things up.
Yeah.
It's coming up from the schools, from the principals, from your people out there. And supposedly, they're not able to communicate with you guys. I don't know what it is, but there's obviously a disconnect somewhere.
Okay, good. Thank you, Senator.
So real quick question. I mean, you have existing contracts already through the jobs program.
Right,
Why don't you
yeah.
just continue them? Why do you need to redo the contracts into something new?
Well, you can only continue them so many times, and then you have to send out a new RFP
Yeah,
for
why
it.
didn't you do it earlier?
Yeah.
But kind of to her point, I mean, it's like we're working on the AG's office to include these new things. Well, why? Just put out the proposals the way they existed under the previous contract.
Well, we had to make some changes from the, it's always evolving, contracting and laws, and so, the main point is that the JOC program is in place and it's being used, right?
But what's changed? I don't remember any new laws passing that would, or anything that would, or what can you point to say, well, because of this law that was passed with this federal thing, that we now have to change X, Y, or Z?
It's, we do, we do what we're told when we're advised, but it has to do with sort of how you rank the contractors who are under the contract before you move on to a next project, and how that scoring goes. And so some technical things, but we do have the JOC thing in place, JOC program in place. We're working on the new RFPs. We have issued some. We are in line to issue others, which is why we support the reso and can meet that deadline.
I just don't, I got to disconnect myself. I just don't. You got a great one working on Maui. We already have I won't name them personally, but they're already under a contract. It's just a matter of issuing the same unless there's a thing, well, you guys passed HRS blank, so therefore we're having to change this. But I haven't seen or heard anything that would warrant a holdup in just saying, okay, we're going to basically put out the RFP as it existed before, knowing that with a very limited base of entities to actually bid on them, they're probably going to be the same entity bidding on it and getting it again. So I guess that's what my questions were about.
Yeah.
It seems to be that all the pieces are in place. What new has happened to warrant this new intrusion of the AG's office into the contracts, so that we're aware, right?
Yeah. Well, we appreciate the advice, but
Yeah, but what tweak, I mean, every contract or every RFP needs a tweak. It doesn't take this long. So I'd like you to show us what the contract is and what's the new contract and where are the changes exactly? Because my understanding is there's not many changes that really didn't warrant this delay. Senator Moriwaki.
I just wanted to know, what is the JOC? How does it operate? Because my understanding is you have a job order, and it should be quick because you have all of these contractors sort of like pre-screened in a sense, so that you can actually go in and say, I got, a door to fix or whatever. And it's not going through a whole RFP process. So I don't understand when you're saying you have to do another RFP.
yeah, that's exactly what we have in place now. So we have the job order contracting in place. We just need to issue new RFPs for the next cycle, because they're on a cycle. Every so many years you have
So
to
you
renew
do,
them.
so the, when it says that you folks discontinued it, why did you discontinue it then?
We
if
didn't
you had-
discontinue it. We
So
haven't-
you've constantly had this JOC in place so that people can come in and say, I got this order. and
Yes, at
There's
least-
not a long wait list.
At least
because you've got-
since 2019, we have not stopped the JOC contract.
Yeah, the contract ended, but they didn't go out with the RFP.
Oh, so
timely, And so they've extended, And then now they're saying it's because they're changes, which has really not been changes. And so and the people told me that, in fact, they had the RFP all ready to go, it was ready to go, and it didn't go. Okay, so I get this information. So I hear your excuses, but really, the people that were there said it was ready to go, and you folks, somebody didn't pull the trigger.
So isn't it regularly done so that you do have this on an ongoing basis, so you don't have to constantly do an update? Because it seems like it's the same process.
Yeah, it's on a cycle, and so we have the contracting in place. We issued a few RFPs, and we have others in line that we do. You know, it's capacity. There's a lot of these ones that we have to issue.
So what was changed then? If you do it on an ongoing basis, it seems like it's an automatic renewal and you get people who can do painting or plumbing or whatever.
Well, the big contract, you know, for fairness and transparency in procurement, you want the businesses to compete for it. So, you know, it's on a cycle, you know, several years, and then you enter into a new RFP, put out a new RFP while the other one's, you know, ending. But, you know, we never stopped it. We have it. It's an ongoing
So
program.
what is the disconnect then? Because what Jerry is saying is you should have gone out for an RFP, so there was a lag instead of it being continuous, because you're gonna have all these requests coming in on a continual basis. So you don't want to have the lag. So what is done so that you don't have the lag, that you constantly have that open sort of portal for people to come in and say, I've got, you know, small repairs to do?
Yeah, there's no lag. It's just the technical document. It's in place, the program. It's just that the new updated RFP for all of them, because some have, but not all of them have been put out yet for competition. But while that's happening, you know, we have the existing contract still in place and working.
So you're doing it before the contract lapses to be able to have no gap?
There's not going to be a gap in the jock contracting opportunity, yeah.
How many extensions have you had?
Geez, I know one had 3 extensions. I don't
That's
have it
my
all in my
point.
head, yeah.
They keep getting extended instead of going out in a timely basis. That's why we have this, because this next extension ends in 2027, and we want to make sure that you guys are out there before you have to do another extension.
Yeah, we're confident we can get it out before then.
And you weren't confident, I know you weren't here, but again, that's no excuse about why this stuff is going on and on.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Oh, I'm sorry, Senator Hashimoto.
So I'm trying to get this clear in my head. So what are we exactly going out for? Are you going out for the B&K portion of the management of the projects, or are you going out for each of the small vendors?
Yeah, so the jock contract is, you know, we procure a contract under which we can choose many different contractors. as
But
job
somebody
comes up.
manages that, right?
The-
Doesn't B&K manage that?
Well, we manage the contract through our office. Yeah, B&K does work for us, but we manage the contract, yeah.
Okay, so you're going out for what, all the small contractors, or?
As work comes in, yeah, they'll look at, okay, is this one we can do under the jock contract?
You're right.
Or is it a larger project?
I'm
then-
talking
yeah.
about, what are you going out to RFP, though?
The jock contract itself, for each of the areas, like, you know, roofing or different areas.
Right.
Those expire after a period of time, because, you know, you cannot have an evergreen contract. So you have to go out for procurement every so many years for a new jock contract.
So how you set it up, are you not doing it in smaller pieces, or you just, is it all in one large contract? Because
Yeah.
if you can do it on a rolling basis, so at least you don't, you know, you are not experiencing one large contract that you got to go figure out at one point. Have you guys really thought about what are alternatives?
Yeah, it is in smaller pieces, focused on particular kinds of work.
But it sounds like that it's just, it's going to be one big, you know, backlog, because you're doing it all at one time versus you kind of staggering it, or, you know, going out. This year, we're going to go out for the roofs. Another year, we're going to go out for, you know, whatever else that you need under jock.
Yeah, I mean, there's no backlog. I mean, the projects are being addressed because the jock contracts are in place. It's just going out for a new contract to replace the old one as they expire.
Right, but, you know, I guess, so the question is when do you go out for the contractor then of B&K, who's the contractor that, in my mind, my understanding is managing all these projects?
They do manage, they manage projects, yeah.
Right, so when do you go out for that? At the same time with all of these?
That's a separate Separate contract, yeah.
It's a separate contract.
Yeah.
So is it a different program or is it's under JOC?
They manage some of our contracts, but JOC is a separate program for.
But aren't they
small jobs.
managing most of those JOC projects?
They are managing some of, yeah, the projects, some of them. And then we have our contract managers in the office managing, yeah.
So how do you differentiate between what is B&K managing and what is DOE managing?
Well, DOE has the last say because we manage the contract, and we have contractors out in the field, district project coordinators through BK out in the field managing the contracts in the different districts through our office at OFO.
Okay, so are they on all projects or is it just select projects? I think we're just trying to get an explanation of,
Yeah,
know.
they're on sort of the smaller projects, but the large RFP type projects, it's managed differently, yeah.
for R&M or for,
Yeah, R&M, so we're talking about CIP and.
so you're moving CIP into the JOC program then?
This, sometimes, yeah, CIP, yeah. They're doing, so for the new projects, like new schools, that's not a JOC project.
Right.
But like repairing a roof might be a JOC process, and that would go through the JOC contracts that we have.
Putting in a
expedite.
sink, right? Putting in a sink in a classroom or stuff like that.
Right,
Those are the things
yeah.
that principals can do and go to these contractors without going to everything.
They might be able to do a school-initiated
Right, and
project,
that's the
yeah.
whole purpose of this.
Yeah.
But that's why it's like, it's not the bigger projects.
Yeah.
Right? So I think we need to differentiate for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
System and been ignored on all of their R&M stuff, completely ignored. And they're asking us how to do it.
Yeah, because
So I'm
they're
like,
not being, they're
this
not
was
being
job
trained,
scarce
or they're
for
not being informed.
So there's something happening where there's not getting through. And maybe it's a confusion between JOCs and what is traditionally a DOE project.
Or we can meet, I'd like to learn more about that issue.
Love to do it.
Well, I think the bottom line is if there's no clarity to us of what you're trying to accomplish, then I think, I'm not sure how there's clarity within the system. And so I hope we can figure out how this all connects and who's in charge of what, and what needs to go out to RFP and when it needs to go out to RFP by. It does concern me a little bit that there is a disconnect of how we're using this program a little bit. Thank you, Chair.
Senator Montadani?
Senator Moore,
Oh, yeah.
go ahead.
So I think the disconnect is also among the principals and those who are using your system. So how does your portal work? I mean, if I have a request, I put it in, when do I get a response that I'm going to get some work done? And is it something that's very responsive, or I just wait in line for, until you finish your RFP and that process? How can you expedite the user getting the information and getting the work done for their school?
Right, so they can put in work orders at the schools. The work orders go into a system we have, which is called Maximo. And that, if it's Neighbor Island, it's processed through DAGS. If it's Oahu, it's processed through our facilities maintenance branch. And there's, depending on what the project is, if it's a large project or if it's repair and maintenance, then, we might use JOC for that. If it's a project that we can put out, that's a smaller project. If it's a larger project, we might have to use a longer RFP process. But it all starts with putting a work order into our system. So sometimes we find that there are issues at schools that, we weren't aware of. It wasn't in the work order. And when we were made aware of it, we go out to the site and meet with the principals and, work with them about, okay, how do we get this stuff into the system? And if it's a really large project, sometimes it ends up on the deferred maintenance list, and then that's a different prioritization process that we have with the CASs and the principals when we make budget requests to the legislature for, money in the deferred maintenance bucket lump sum so that we can address those projects that are prioritized through the system. And if it's larger, CIP line items, we get funding for that. And so it just depends on, are these the little smaller work order type repair and maintenance projects, or are these, end up on the deferred maintenance list?
So I guess I'm looking at it from the user's perspective, right? I got a roof leak, or I've got a painting job to do, and the wall is spackling or whatever. and I want the job done, and do I put it in the work order, and how do I know that it's gonna be worked on, or I get a response? What is that communication with the user or the one who's requesting and the job being done, and what is the time frame for that?
So
Like 1 year?
That is definitely something that I have looked at and really want us to improve on, which is that communication and the outward facing part, because we do have, again, the maximum for the work orders where, principals can get on the system or their staff to see where projects are. And sometimes it's not very clear. So we're trying to make it better. We're in a process now of updating that software and our also CPT for CIP tracking, and with a focus on the outward facing. So folks can see in school communities more easily, like where these projects are. Otherwise, it's a phone call. They can call an FMB branch or work with the DPCs in the districts.
Because I would think the job would be a much more expedited repair for the schools. And, what kind of timeline so that it is something I put in, and at least within the next couple of months, I get a response that we're gonna do it. If somebody comes to assess it, whether it's a higher level repair, or whether we could send somebody out and do the paint job or whatever.
Yeah, and that's the process. If we can get to it really quick with Jock, we use that. If it's a longer process, we communicate with the schools. Right now, in response to the storms, we're acting pretty quick on reopening schools and getting them clean and safe. And that's through the same work order system that
So
we're
the
talking
job
about
works
here.
for my school needing to have all the mud taken out. I put it on job, a work order, or?
Yeah, some of it is, might go through Jock. Some of it might be larger, like the Konawaina School is a larger effort, which is not through Jock. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Senator Kidani?
Yeah, so what is that threshold as to cost of a project that they can do it from the school themselves, the principals can order something?
Oh,
Or it has to come through a contract?
They have the school-initiated projects. Is a conversation that the school needs to have with our office. And, there is a threshold, but I'm sorry, off the top of my head, I don't have the guidance, but there is a
But there is a
threshold.
threshold, and is it dependent upon the size of the school, or elementary, middle, or high school?
It's a monetary amount.
Correct,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
what is that monetary amount dependent upon? Is it a
Oh,
middle?
the
what
value
type
of the
school?
work, the value of the work.
The value of,
That's the value of the contract, right? Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
so if it costs over a certain amount of money to remove mud or mold, you have to go through a traditional project funding process to do that?
If it's a larger project, yeah, so so for the storm event, the Konawaina High School reopening it's a huge, there was a lot of damage, and so that couldn't be through small contracting, we had to go out for that, yeah.
It's a lot of time to spend, and meanwhile, mold never sleeps. Sorry, Chair, just one adjunct to what you're saying.
Well, the whole purpose of this is to speed up the repair and maintenance, small jobs. And it says here in the whereas job order contracting allows the Department of Education to rapidly procure construction services through pre-qualified contractors, standardized pricing, simplified work order procedures, significantly reducing procurement timelines compared to traditional low bid contract methods. So this whole thing is that if I'm a principal and my door's got to be replaced, I should be able to go to this contractor, get it done, put in a work order, wait, find out where it is, go on a line, job tracker not updated, you don't know where it's at. It's a mess. It's a complete mess. And the whole purpose of this is to allow the principals to do this. Now, does the principals have like a little lump sum that they can spend on these projects?
I'm not aware that they have a lump sum.
Okay, well, that's something that you guys should be looking at. Should they have a certain amount, $5,000, and I'm not sure if a job can be done and they can deal with it instead of going through this whole bureaucracy that you guys have set up. Because that's the whole purpose of this, to be simplified, standardized pricing, all of this stuff should be worked in and the principal should know about it. But it's not being done. And all you're giving us is all this, rhetoric about reasons, which I don't buy into it. So, I'm sorry, that's why we have this resolution. Any other questions, members? Okay, hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
All right, we'll move on to the next resolution, SR 25, urging state agencies and the University of Hawaii William S. Richardson School of Law to collaborate and develop externship opportunities for law students to assist in the comprehensive review and much-needed review and update of the Hawaii administrative rules. We have first up to testify, the Hawaii State Commission on the Status of Women. There you are, patiently waiting. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Yasmin Cheney for the Commission on the Status of Women. We stand on our written testimony in support of this resolution as administrative rules shape the implementation of laws and policies that directly affect gender equity, inclusion, and access to resources. We thank the committee for their consideration and support.
Thank you very much. That's all the testimony we have received on this measure. Just to do a sweep, is there anybody in the audience or out there on Zoom wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, are there any questions of this resolution? Seeing none, I guess we'll go right into decision making then.
Okay, we are ready. The
Okay.
recommendation for SR 201 and SR 189, and this is the job order contracting that we just got to extensively discussing. The recommendation, members, is to pass an SD1. I would like to amend on the last page, page 4. There's the 1, 2, 3, and 4 report that should be given to us. On that, I'd like to include that they report on how are they, one, informing the principals, training the principals to make sure they understand this whole job thing and what it is that they're supposed to be doing. Also possibly putting in there whether or not the principals should in fact be, have some kind of
It's a great idea.
is fund that they can take care of small purchases and to
Put
do
down
that.
a lump
And I
sum.
know there's been a bill that allowed DOE to go from 50,000 to 250,000, but again, I'm not sure how that principle is working. So we do want to get things down to the school level and to the principals. Yes.
So I'm thinking that, what they should be doing is streamlining their system, because if they're going out to RFP constantly, it's not just a reporting, it's really trying to get the services out. So maybe directing them to streamline the system
Streamline.
so that principals or users can have more access and
Mr.
information.
Mayor, you're hearing this, right? That we're adding in, be it resolved for
To streamline their
streamlining the system and making sure that the user, the principals know what's available to them.
Max, can you communicate on this?
Yeah.
Is Zach getting a copy of this resolution?
No,
Include
but-
that, because they do
Let's
the
add them in
neighbor
there
islands.
because they're.
because that's a
under-
neighbor island.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll add that in. Also in the committee report, I would like to emphasize how this process should be simplified and how we should be empowering the users. Any other discussion, questions?
So,
If
and
not,
just so that they have more information and direct access to the JOC or whatever.
okay, good direct access.
Direct access entry.
Okay, there are no more discussion. The chair recommends that we pass SCR 201 and SR 189 with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Hashimoto. Aye. Senator Decort, excused.
Okay,
Measures
thank you.
adopted.
Okay, Committee on Government Operations, same recommendation, SR 25, Senate Draft 1, I vote yes.
Senator Gabbard, excused. Senator Hashimoto. Aye. Senator Mawaki, aye. Senator Owa, excused. The recommendation is
Okay,
adopted.
thank you very much.
Okay, same recommendations for the Education Committee to pass as is.
Oh, I haven't made a recommendation.
Oh.
We were just voting, we were voting this a tail on the first
my
one. Your expediency, we can only have this in the job program, we'd be getting stuff done. Okay, recommendation on SR 25 members, this is a great reso. I introduced bills like this in the past because we have so many laws that have been passed that are no longer on the books and they're still making rules on them. It's out of control, so recommendation is as is. Members, questions, comments? If not,
We might need some technical and non-substantive.
nah, it's a reso, don't worry
Okay.
about it. SR 25, if it was a bill, I would, but this is a resolution. So SR 25 as is.
Okay. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair is excused. Senator Hashimoto. Aye. Moriwaki, aye. And Senator Owai is excused. Recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members.
Okay, same recommendation for Committee on Education to pass as is. Chair votes aye.
For SR 25, pass as is. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Fukunaga. Aye. Senator Hashimoto. Aye. Senator Picard. She's adopted, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. And that
That concludes everything.
concludes our call to order the Committee on Education. We are on the 103 agenda on Senate Concurrent Resolution 140, Senate Resolution 132. This is urging the Department of Education and University of Hawaii at Manoa to adopt energy savings performance contracting pursuant to Section 36-41 Hawaii Revised Statutes as a primary strategy to address deferred maintenance and infrastructure modernization, improve energy efficiency statewide. We have Hitayashi for Department of Education.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Jesse Suki, Deputy Superintendent of Operations, Department of Education. We stand on support. Our testimony was submitted. Thank you.
Thank you. Hawaii State Energy Office. Aloha.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Monique Zampis for the Hawaii State Energy Office. Our testimony is on the proposed SD1 for the energy performance contracting. It should be support. I believe it was written as comments. We are supportive of this measure, and I am available for questions. Thank you.
Okay, Johnny May Perry in support. Not here. Anyone else wishing to testify on Senate Concurrent Resolution 140 or SR 132? Hearing none. Questions. So, DOE. So is this something that you folks have looked at in the past, or this is new to you, or what stages are you in? I know you're in support, but.
Yes, we support the measure. We are working on a project, an RFP for an energy savings performance contract that's in review now.
Okay, so where are we at on that though? And have you folks got any kind of preliminary?
Yeah, it's in review now. And like the resol says, we're looking at, when we put out the RFP, to have it include taking care of, the roof structure and the facilities around the units, the AC units, as part of the performance requirements for the contract. And so we're sort of excited about it. It's going to be very helpful for energy being more green and having a smaller carbon footprint, but also taking care of some of our deferred maintenance issues.
Okay, I know you are new on the position, but this whole energy efficiency and energy savings performance contract is not new. So I'm just wondering at what point did DOE stepping up to the plate to look at this to ensure some savings?
Yeah, so-
Because it's been instituted at other institutions here in the state.
Yeah, I've actually worked on these types of contracts in other institutions in my legal capacity. So I'm not an attorney anymore, but that's why I'm excited to see that DOE had already started on working on this before I got there. So we're helping to move it forward and hopefully getting it out to bid soon.
So when you say soon, what are we looking at?
I haven't reviewed the most recent draft, so I don't want to say until I see it, but hopefully by the end of next year or sooner.
End of next year?
End of this year or sooner, sorry. Sorry.
End of next year?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Most of the work has been done before I started, so it's just, I want to be sure there's a lot of details in these type of agreements that you have to be sure you get right for the long-term cost of having it. And my staff has been coordinating with the Energy Office, who leads or manages the these types of contracts for the state.
Who's handling, do you have an energy person at DOE?
We do have an office, it's our auxiliary branch in OFO who works on these kinds of projects.
And they're not here to testify.
No, sorry.
Okay, members, any other questions? Questions, Senator Kidani?
So do you have a list of what you're going to start working on? Like, what are the important issues or main issues that you start with
Just generally?
generally? Yes.
Well, specifically for OFO, I mean, the top priorities are, we're working on a strategic plan for OFO to help improve workflows. One of the major elements of that plan is how we communicate the work we're doing with the schools, and so that they have a better insight into what we're doing. So those are priorities. We're looking at upgrading our software for Maximo and CPT, which tracks work orders and CIP. So we're working on that. This energy performance contract is one of the things I wanted to see put out, as soon as possible. They've been working on it for a while. I think we're at a point where we can put it out. There's been some restructuring in OFO to help it focus more on project delivery and not other extraneous things. There used to be reprographics in there and mailroom, and those are things that we're working on moving out so OFO can focus on project delivery. I'd say those are my top priorities for OFO.
I think we should also look at cost to the schools, the ones that are having high energy costs. What could be done almost immediately to fix that?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody here from UH? Okay. Why did you come from?
I do have it up on my computer, though. Deborah Halbert, Vice President, Academic Strategy, University of Hawaii System.
So Deborah, are you aware of these solutions and issues? Because UH is named in
In the resolution,
right?
yeah.
So are you familiar that the community colleges have instituted this program starting back in 2012?
I am generally familiar with our efforts to reduce energy use on the campuses. I don't know any of the specifics about the programs that the different campuses are involved in. However, I can communicate back and ask for updates.
Well, I had hoped, because I understand all of the community colleges instituted this program, and all of them have gotten a lot of savings and more efficiency. It did cost for the program or this whole thing over the many years, but it's more than paid off for itself. And that it was recommended for Manoa to do it, and Manoa's never done it. So I'm really wondering why such success at the community colleges beginning 2012, and seeing the success and seeing the savings happen in a matter of several years, but it's happening, and many of those efficiencies are continuing as of today, and there's other contracts that have since been gotten into, but Manoa has not. So I'm wondering why Manoa spends more on electricity and some of these other areas, and certainly could use the efficiencies. So I'm just disappointed that nobody here from DOE, from the university, is here to really explain why it is that we have embarked on it and what are we doing. I do understand that they are working on something, but I don't know the details. So I was hoping that they would be here to give me the details on what
I
they're
will
working on.
communicate that back to them, and hopefully we can get those to you as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions, members? Not, we are moving on to Senate Concurrent Resolution 197, SR 185, requesting the auditor to conduct a comprehensive performance and financial audit of the Department of Education's capital improvement project backlog. And we have, again, DOE.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair. Jesse Suki, Deputy Superintendent of Operations for the Department of Education. The department would stand on its testimony with comments, with just the follow points to make. Of course, we support transparency, accountability, and effective stewardship of public resources. We have some comments on the resol with respect to the audit item 1. The department notes that the term capital improvement project backlog is not uniformly defined and is used in varying contexts. So if we could get a better definition of that in the resol. And then regarding item 2, we transferred our current financial system in 2021, and we have comprehensive project level financial data really readily available for CIP projects for fiscal years 21 to 25, and that's 90% about of all of our projects. So we believe that, we have the information and data available, and, so we rest in our comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, I did send you out finally a comprehensive list that was finally submitted to us on all of the CIP. So I hope you got that and appreciate that, having that list. And hopefully that you guys will be updating that on a regular basis, yearly basis for us, and maybe filling in on areas that perhaps we didn't know we needed. With that, I will call the next testifier, Office of the Auditor. Les Kondo, I don't see him here. He does have his comments. Members Johnny May Perry, individual and support. Anyone else here wishing to testify on this measure? Hearing none. Jesse, can we have you back? So I do acknowledge your statement about clarifying what we're defining CIP projects. How does the DOE define it?
CIP, so that would be the bond-funded projects, right?
Okay. And if it's not bond-funded, it's not CIP?
No, it's using operating money. It might not be a capital improvement project in that sense, no. So deferred maintenance can be capital improvement, bond-funded projects.
So we classify projects by the way it's funded or the type of project it is. So if we have a building and we ended up using cash, and there's times when we did supplement cash instead of the bonds, is that not a CIP project?
Yeah, I mean, it could be technically, we haven't had cash, so.
Well, again, so is it a good policy to classify a CIP project based on its funding? Shouldn't it be based on the type of project?
So we can work on a definition, but our thought there was that when we talk about backlog, what kind of projects are we talking about? Because there are like, you could talk about like the deferred maintenance backlog, and those are just estimates.
It's
they are not-
capital improvement project backlog. It's
Right.
clear in the resol.
And so those projects could be capital improvement projects, right? But they haven't been put into the pipeline for projects because they're waiting on the list for funding. So if we're gonna count that as a capital improvement backlog, then that changes how we're looking at the problem. If we're just talking about like the projects on this list that we shared, which are projects that are actually, turned into projects and they're sort of waiting in different, in design for completion funding, that's kind of a different look at the term backlog. It just depends on how we define backlog.
So if a project has been appropriated funds by the legislature, a CIP project that is appropriated funds, is that not a CIP project?
Yes, it is, yeah.
It is,
Yeah.
so that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care if it's waiting for design, I don't care if it's waiting for, the fact that it came to us as a CIP, we funded it as a CIP,
Right,
so
right.
therefore it is a CIP.
Right, right. So if that's how we're defining it, that's fine.
Okay,
Right.
so I'm gonna put that definition into that. Okay, so we cleared that up. Is there any other questions, members? Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are moving on to Senate Concurrent Resolution 78 and Senate Resolution 82. And, sorry, am I, wait, that's Hawaiian, sorry, that's Hawaiian. Okay, 7882, urging the Department of Education to strengthen menstrual health education initiatives and to adopt a comprehensive menstrual cycle curriculum. We have a number of people here to testify, beginning with DOE. Who's testifying on this? Terry?
Good afternoon, Chair Kim, Vice Chair Kidani, and members of the committee. I'm Teru Shijima, Assistant Superintendent, testifying on behalf of the Department of Education. The department stands on its written testimony offering comments on SCR 78. We recognize the importance of menstrual health education as part of the sexual health education. The department continues to offer support to complex areas in schools in implementing related board policies and department requirements for puberty and sexual health education. Should this resolution move forward, the department recommends the language changes outlined in our written testimony to strengthen the alignment and scaffolding of elementary, middle, and high school content for menstrual health education. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Terry. Osatui for HSTA, Millie.
Good afternoon, Chair and Vice Chair. Sarah Milianta-Laffin on behalf of Osatui and HSTA. This resolution was really exciting to see. Thank you, Senator Kidani. In 2022, you were pivotal in getting Act 113 passed to make sure we had free period products in all of our public schools. The cool thing about this reso is this was brought forward by the students who were benefited by that program. So one thing my employer encourages me to do as a classroom teacher is elevating student voice. We want to make sure we're hearing our students' voices in the classroom and reflecting on that. So the students who've been provided these materials in their classrooms are now asking for better menstrual education. I got to meet with some of these advocates, and what's exciting now is my 8th graders who were in my classroom, I'm now writing their college recommendation letters for college based on the work that they've done for this. We have engaged activists. You see their testimony, you see it moving forward. You also have the data of the Hawai'i movement, the best organization locally that knows what's going on with period poverty and education. And what they say is that students are saying they don't know enough about their own bodies, and they want to fix that, and that's why they came to this body. So please support. Mahalo.
Thank you. Yasmin Shaney. Here. Nikki Ann Yee on Zoom. Aloha, Nikki.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify. I'm Nikki, co-founder of Hawai'i Movement Hawai'i, and I stand under my written testimony in strong support. Over the years, we've made incredible progress making period products easier to access in schools, UH, and public buildings, including the Capitol. Access is key, and today is a continuation of that work. When we ran the pilots in schools, we realized that having period products alone was not enough. And when given proper education, students' confidence grew and stigma decreased. As a mother, my own children understand menstrual health in much better ways than I ever did. And it's clear in how they show up for themselves and for others. I'm here today because of the youth advocates that are on this call and driving this resolution, because I would have hoped that they would have had the same or better experience than my own children. And they did not. We ensured access. Now it's time to ensure education. Every student deserves accurate and comprehensive menstrual health education. I respectfully ask for your support. Mahalo.
Thank you. Joel Watanabe on Zoom. Aloha, Joel.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Joel Watanabe. I'm a 2024 graduate of Mauna Loa High School, and I currently attend Boston University. I stand on my written testimony and support SCR 78 and SR 82 in being passed. To begin with, I wish I had known more about what a period is at an earlier age, as I got my first period when I was 9 years old. I genuinely thought I was dying when I went to the bathroom and saw that there was blood in my underwear. I don't remember receiving any information about the menstrual cycle in my sex ed course in elementary school, nor my mandated health classes in middle or high school. I remember attempting to look up information about the menstrual cycle and what it entails myself. However, I felt ashamed about even looking it up due to internalized stigma. I pushed for menstrual education in Hawaii DOE public schools as I didn't have the opportunity to learn at home. Like many students in the DOE public school system, my mother, the main provider of my household to 3 kids, would come home from 8 hours of work and Pauhana traffic worrying about putting food on the table for us at dinner, and she relied on our sex ed course in school to teach us. However, it did not teach me anything about the menstrual health and menstrual cycle. Regardless if someone has access to menstrual education, the period will come anyway at any age. It's best to go unprepared and to know how to manage one's menstrual cycle. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Joelle. Can you imagine some of us here who's been a lot older than you, when we went through that, we didn't know anything. There was no Google, there was no internet for us to find out what was happening to ourselves. But thank you for that. Okay. Nahela Kameha na Okala Matos on Zoom.
Not present, Chair.
Not present. Okay. Leila May Gonzalez.
Not present either, Chair.
Okay, that's all that I have that asked to testify in person or on Zoom. Anyone else in this room wanting to testify this measure? Hearing none. Members, do you have any questions? Dealy, please. And then we're going to recess right after this so we can do our joint hearing.
So at what grade level does menstrual education start?
Okay, this is our health specialist, Nadine Marsalt. So it's usually in upper elementary school when we do puberty education and sexual health education.
What grade is that?
Oh, 5th and 6th.
Sorry, can you repeat the question? Because I was.
At what grade level does this education start for menstrual education for our students? And is it for both boys and girls?
Yeah, so for puberty education, it's a requirement of the department within the grade span 3 to 5. The schools can decide which grade level will best suit their school design. It's typically occurring in 5th grade, maybe 4th grade at the school's discretion for their curriculum planning. And that curricula, or the requirement, includes information about physical, social, emotional changes of puberty and adolescence and ways to manage those changes. So in a nutshell, it typically occurs in 4th and 5th grade instruction around puberty.
Thank you.
So you leave it up to the schools to decide what year. So I could have two children, one in 2 different schools, and one will learn it and the other one doesn't learn it till a year later. And does that make any sense?
So for health education, our standards are organized by grade spans. So pre-K to kindergarten through 2nd grade, grades 3 to 5, 6 through 8, and 9 through 12. That's a structure within our Board of Education adopted standards.
I understand that, but why can't we say it should be taught at grade 4 or grade 5? So it's there's some consistency throughout the system, knowing that but you're a certain grade, and it's not that, oh, the kids at 3rd, 4th grade got it and the 5th grade people didn't get it because they're going to get it next year or going on. You understand what I'm saying? At certain schools, there seems to be an inequity there, an inconsistency. Even for friends getting together, girls getting together talking about it, and one said, yeah, we learned that in school, the other one said, I haven't learned it because they never get to that grade yet because their school decided they're going to do it 1 year later. So how do we mend that? How do we fix that?
Yeah, we can look at that. I think we're going to revisit our information to schools around puberty and sexual health education. That's one of our projects for this spring semester going into summer. So that is on the slate to look at.
I understand, and it's sort of a common response that, oh, it's up to the school to decide how they want to do financial literacy. It's up to the school on the Bell schedule. It's up to the school on teacher waiver days. Up to the school to decide for which grade you're going to teach sexual education. Some of these things I think should be systemized across and coordinated across all the schools. I mean, yeah, we want to empower the schools, but at the same time, there's certain things that should be common and predictable, so that no matter what school I put my child in, I'm going to know that at the 4th grade, they're going to have this education, or at the 5th grade, they're going to have it, right? So,
And just to clarify, what the importance of that is, because Hawaii has a lot of military families, and if they taught it in the 4th grade, but in the mainland, they don't teach it to the 5th grade or whatever, that student that it transfers here never hears it. So
yeah, if they missed it on there and come in 1 year and they miss it here, they never get
Yeah.
it, right? On that. So what we're asking in this resolution, is it already embedded in what you folks teach?
It's part of the puberty and sexual health.
So what is new that you're going to add in based on this resolution?
Well, so we've been talking about it, and we're considering doing some instructional materials that we can provide for schools and have, I guess, spotlight some of the key concepts that we want teachers to be able to easily relay to our students.
So why does it take a resolution? Why isn't this automatic or something that the schools have initiated on their own, knowing there's a lack of whatever?
Puberty education and sexual health education is an expectation for all of our schools. It is an expectation,
Right, so then
yes.
why isn't some of these things now you're talking about maybe giving them a handout,
Well,
maybe giving them
I,
information?
I think because if the students, as our previous testifier said, if it's a need, then we want to be responsive to some of the needs and provide additional
Well, you're
resources that
missing-
could be
yeah, You're
helpful.
missing my point. Then why isn't this additional need already embedded? Because again, if there's a resolution coming to us, obviously the people that want us to have this resolution feels that something's missing.
Well, we do have online resource listed on this website that was released in October 2022. So we do have things that are available. We are just adding more to that.
Okay, I just hope that we don't have to wait till the public gets an arm, want us to do a resolution or want us to do a bill. That these are things that the schools are looking at to be proactive, to make sure that we are educating our children in the most important areas, not just STEM and how to add and how to subtract and all of that, but also in personal development and hygiene and stuff like that.
Yes,
right?
so we do have, but we just will enhance it more.
Senator Kidani, followed by Senator Decor.
So are you aware at what grade level mainland schools teach this curriculum?
Menstrual health education. There's no national data collection through, one of the key data collections is through the Centers for Disease Control. They don't collect elementary data, and menstrual health education is not, like that specific topic, data around that specific topic isn't gathered in relation to what schools implement, just like they don't gather information about whether schools talk about body hair or, body odors that occur during puberty and adolescence. We are aware of a couple states that are implementing menstrual health education, I believe California and Oregon. So we're just starting to look at some of their examples, knowing that this resolution is moving through the legislature.
Well, that's why I guess I'm concerned, because we have a lot of military population, and they're not getting this education at all on the mainland, and we're not teaching it at the appropriate time here. So I'm not sure if we also teach it at a high school level or not.
Okay, Senator Decor.
Thank you. I have a two-part question, please. So according to Act 113, do you folks know how much money is being appropriated into those products?
Oh, I don't have that number, but we can look into
Can you
it.
get it to us?
We will work with our Office of Student Support Services, and we will get that information.
Okay, yeah, because it actually taps into the second part of my question, which, because your testimony states that the department already provides a comprehensive, medically accurate sexual health education. However, according to the data, it says about 48% of students receive little or no information before their first period. So I think it's important to understand that the legislature is appropriating funds so that these products can be available in every school, public school and charter school. But then if there's no education, then there's not really that process to be followed if they don't know what it's there for. I'm assuming these products are being held in the health room or maybe even in some classrooms. So maybe if you go to some state buildings, there are the machines there. So I think the missing piece of this is the education piece. And I don't want to speculate, but it sounds a little bit by your testimony that it's kind of like a as needed form of education, as opposed to what Vice Chair was talking about, it being just a blanket education, because we're not going to know they're not going to know until they know, and by then it's too late.
Yes, and it has been a part of what we teach. I know as a 5th and 6th grade teacher, and we taught both puberty as well as sexual health education, and we, coordinated it across the different classes in that grade level. So, and that's been years ago. So there has been a focus on puberty and sexual health education throughout the years. I think what we are hearing is that although we have things currently, it would be beneficial to have more.
Yeah, well, when the data shows that only 48% of students are receiving little or no information, I think there's a huge gap that we're missing, yet I'm going to assume that millions of dollars is getting poured into these products. I don't want to speculate, but I believe that when you get me the information, it will validate my concern, which is taxpayers are paying for these products, but the department is not really helping to educate the students for them to use that. But I guess you can get us that information when you can, but there is a very large gap in the educational piece, which is clear by the data. Thank you, Chair.
Last thing I want to say is that according to one of the testifiers, she said she got her period when she was 9. And so if you enter kindergarten at 5, you're 9 at 4th grade. But if some schools choose not to teach it until 5th grade, then that student, again, will have the traumatic experience without knowing what it is that they're going through. So.
And also, yes, that could be true. And also, I think there are students who don't have this kind of education and information from their homes.
Right, that's why we're saying
yes.
earlier the better. I'm not saying like 3rd grade or kindergarten, but I think 4th grade, if students are getting it from 9 years old, and I know they are, then, better that they get ahead of time, so when it does happen, they're not traumatized. I know I was traumatized, and I felt embarrassed about it, so, yeah. Yes.
Follow up, I think, and because we live in Hawaii where it's expensive, and a lot of times both parents have to work, and the mother doesn't get around to give, or the father, to give this information to their daughters. I think it's important, and because we have a large military influx, that does DOE know what states, at what level they get this kind of education, health education? States?
So I think that information, according to meeting, it's not readily available because it's not collected nationally.
Yeah,
Is that
for
right?
elementary health, I'm not aware of any national, comprehensive health education data collection. And I believe there's even one state where health education, at least one state where health education is not a required.
There are national conferences, whatever,
Yes.
that can help you get that information. But my concern is that we have students coming into the state that have missed this opportunity. So we have to figure out what that grade level is that would catch some of these students.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I'm going to recess the Education Committee. Thank you both.
Thank you.
And we're going to go into our joint committee. Thank you. We are now convening our joint committee on education and committee on Hawaiian affairs with our chair of Hawaiian affairs, Senator Richards, and his committee. Welcome. We are on our 101 agenda item at 209, and we are starting out with Senate Concurrent Resolution 162, Senate Resolution 153, requesting the Department of Education to convene a shared decision-making committee to develop an action plan to establish K-12 Kaiapuni School in Kapolei. Testifier beginning with Carlos Canazola from the University of Hawaii, West Oahu, Leeward. Nobody? Okay. Keith Hayashi. DOE.
Aloha mai kākou. My name is Kau'i Sang, and I am representing the Department of Education today. We stand in our written testimony with a few comments about that I would like you guys to take a look at the recommendations for language change to the resolution, and I can be available for questions if necessary. Aloha.
Thank you. Office of Hawaiian Affairs. Present, Joelle Olani Lilly on Zoom.
Not present, Chair.
Not present. Okay. Andrea Dias Machado. Aloha.
Aloha. Aloha mai, Chair Kim, Chair Richards, Vice Chair Kidani, Vice Chair Lamosao, and members of the Senate Committees on Education and Hawaiian Affairs. I'm Andrea Diaz Machado. I'm the president of Kealohio EVA, and I'm sharing testimony in strong support of SR 153 and SCR 162. I stand by my written testimony, and I'd like to add that these resolutions provide a pathway for the Department of Education, the UH system, and the community, which is really the key part of this resolution, to achieve collective impact together through a common agenda that will center the needs of our Keiki Kaiopuni, our Kaiopuni students, and will create a critically needed K-12 Kula Kaiopuni and Kapolei for generations of Hawaiian immersion learners now and into perpetuity. Mahalo nui for your time, presence, and the opportunity to testify. E ola mau ka olelo Hawai'i. Mahalo.
Thank you. Kiana Rodriguez. Present, Kiana, here you go.
Aloha mai kako. O Kiana Rodriguez, Ko'inoa, Noho Aoma Halava me Ko'u Ohana. Aloha everyone, my name is Kiana Rodriguez. I live with my Ohana in Halava. I am here today to reaffirm my support for these resolutions. Accessibility to Hawaiian immersion education is an important issue to my Ohana, especially as a Kanaka Oiwi who was raised in the diaspora. When Kikula Kaipuni o Kapolei opened its doors, my daughter was given back the opportunity to continue her Kaipuni education after graduating from Waiau. For many Ohana in our position, traveling to Palolo, Kaneohe, or Kahuku to attend other Kula Kaipuni is not a feasible option due to the distance from home and work. My son will be entering kindergarten this upcoming school year, and currently the high demand for Hawaiian immersion in the Ewamoku means that the only elementary option is at capacity. These resolutions will create an actionable plan so Ohana will not have to face uncertainty around if Kaipuni is attainable. Mahalo nui for the opportunity to testify. E ola mau ka olelo Hawai'i.
Thank you, Kiana. Let's see. We have 27 were in support, no opposition, 4 comments. That is all the ones that signed up to testify in person. But do I have anyone here in the audience wanting to testify on this measure? Please. Just identify yourself, please. Thank you.
Aloha mai kako. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm a humble servant from Pauo Valley, up the valley here. Born and raised there with my grandmother, Mariah Namahoe, from Waiakea. She taught me, learn your olelo, because it is the foundation of who you are as a native Hawaiian. And all of that has stayed with me all my life. And I live in Pauoa, I love my valley of Pauoa, and I'm proud to say I'm a proud native of it. I say this because I'm here to lend my leo kako, my voice of support, to the resolution in support of establishing the very first Kula Kaiopuni in West Oahu and Kapolei to benefit all of our ohana out there as far as Makaha, Waianae, Makakilo, Kalailoa, Nanakuli, and Maili. I had the opportunity to visit a small group of students there 2 weeks ago at Kapolei High School. These are 5 young Hawaiians speaking Olelo Hawaii and being hungry enough to ask Anakala Kaipo, tell us about your life in Pauoa. So I said, okay, I'll bring my life stories to Pauoa to you, but you have to learn your life stories here. So I'm hoping that this resolution will help support that initiative moving forward. Mahalo nui.
Thank you very much. My kumu was anti-Maikiaiu, so thank you so much. Okay, anyone else wishing to testify? All right. Well, members' questions. Any questions? Yes. Yes.
DOE?
Senator DeCourt.
So in DOE's testimony, there has been an acknowledgement of teacher shortage for Kaiopuni teachers. However, this resol just really calls for a plan, right? And that just is to ensure that we have community input?
Correct.
Okay.
Such a-
No, 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 I have another question, thank you. And so in that community collective group, what are you envisioning that will be seen? And will there be any part for the department to be at the table? Or will this in fact be community-driven?
So historically, the most Kaipuni schools were established at the advocacy of folks in our community. And as a result, the Board of Education worked with a group of parents, and they established what's called the Aha Koleo. In Board of Education policy, they've identified that the Aha Koleo is the advisory committee to the Office of Hawaiian Education on matters related to Kaipuni education. We convene meetings quarterly with all members, with the members in the Aha Koleo. It's a representative group of all schools, including our Hawaiian language immersion charter schools, that allow for parents, teachers, school administrators, and Native Hawaiian education support organizations like the Office of Hawaiian Education, the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, I'm so used to saying my own name, the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, Kamehameha Schools, and then our university partners, especially those that have that are running the two educator preparation programs at UH Hilo and at UH Manoa. We also have membership from BYUH as well, and they've also helped us to produce some teachers. And so in these convenings, quarterly convenings, is where we talk about sort of the broad issues that are facing Kaipuni education. And recently, the department has approved and has started implementation on our Kaipuni strategic planning. And through the Aha Kauleo voice is where they were able to advocate for some of the priorities that we've established in that plan.
Okay, so you do see that there is an interest
Yes,
that is being sought out for interested Kaipuni teachers.
yes.
Any idea where there seems to be a lag? Because in my community with teachers who are interested in getting involved in Kaipuni projects, the wall seems to stop at the standards board. So are you noticing that that's where kind of it might get a little delayed?
I think one of the things that we were successful at in working with the Hawaii Teacher Standards Board was the establishment of what we call the Palapala Okuikaba, or the Hawaiian Teacher Permit, which allows us to bring folks into the teaching pipeline. I think we've faced some recent challenges, just trying to make sure that there's some clarity and consistency and transparency in the way in which the policies, either in new business items of the Hawaii Teacher Standards Board or in the Hawaii administrative rules, are actually implemented and communicated. And so I think we've as a member of the Hawaiian work group of the Hawaii Teacher Standards Board, we've met probably about 4 or 5 times in the last year just to continue to try and seek that clarity. And we're continuing to work on that. We do expect that in its next meeting on April 24th, that we will be able to resolve the issues that have been sort of preventing us from opening up that pipeline a little bit more, but absolutely. If I can also say that an additional concern of ours is actually getting people into the teaching pipeline. And so in the Office of Hawaiian Education, one of our strategic priorities is really to focus in on establishing a solid Kaipuni teacher pipeline, specifically with our educator preparation programs.
Okay, and I'm really hoping that we can flesh that out, because the standard board, like the whole idea of Kaipuni is to disassociate. And so it seems like there's been a little bit of a clash there, but thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll resolve in the next meeting. Chair, did you have any questions? No? No other questions? Okay, we will move on to the next agenda item. Senate Concurrent Resolution 202 and Senate Resolution 190 requesting the University of Hawaii to allow an Olelo Hawaii pathway under the Nihihau dialect. Testifying on this measure is the university, I hope. Yeah, Deborah Halbert. Yes.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chairs, members of the committee. Debbie Halbert, Vice President for Academic Strategy. We'll stand on our written testimony offering comments, and I can answer questions if you so
desire.
Yes, we will have questions.
Okay. Do you want me to stay here?
Yes. Julia Cajone, support. Cheryl Burkhart, also in support. Anyone else here wishing to testify on this measure? Hearing none. Okay. So obviously there is some challenges with this, right? And what is, obviously what is the threshold in beginning a new pathway? What kind of costs and what does it take? And do you have a number of students anticipated? Because obviously you can't be everything to everybody.
Everyone, yeah. So that, I mean, part of the question is what kind of pathway are we talking about? Is this a concentration? Is it, for example, a micro-credential, which could then just be created around a single course? Is it a degree of some kind? And we already have a Hawaiian language degree, so I'm guessing the pathway would be somewhere under a degree path. We at the university have lots of pieces to the puzzle about asking for or creating new degrees. As you know, we don't want to have a proliferation of degrees across the system without some level of control. So if it were to be some degree, it would go through much larger scrutiny than if it was a concentration or a micro-credential.
Is there some kind of threshold, like the number of students anticipated that you would service? Because you wouldn't necessarily teach Russian. Well, we did teach Russian. And
Right,
we had
we
like
did.
two students
Yes.
at one point enrolled, which then wasn't cost effective, and it
Yes.
prevented other types of new types of pathways and degrees in the future. So where does that?
So we do report to the board annually on programs with a small number of graduates. We also scrutinize at the course level, courses with a small number of students. In this case, I did look up the last time Hawaiian Studies or Hawaiian 453 was taught, which is the Olelo Nu'ihau class. There were 5 students enrolled in that. That was spring 2024. We wouldn't offer a course like that every year simply because it's not going to draw a huge number of students. But for a course like this, because it does serve a very specialized need, we also wouldn't want to preclude it being offered. So we would look to making sure the enrollments.
So when you say a course, a course is like 1 year, 1 semester?
1 semester.
And that's it?
Yes,
And
that
is
would be it.
And that, you think satisfy this pathway?
We
or-
could, well, if there was an interest in creating a credential around it, it would be something like a micro-credential where you would say, I have this specialized credential that looks specifically at Olelo
And what
Nu'ihau.
kind of time commitment would that and cost commitment? to
I
do
would
a
imagine
credential?
it could be built around the existing course that's on the books already. But, then it's a matter of if there's interest in whether students would take the
So if we were
course.
to amend this to say micro-credential,
That would give us more flexibility in trying to determine what kind of pathway could exist.
questions, members? Questions?
So where was this course? At what campus was this?
It's at
course?
Manoa in in the Hawaiian language. It's a 400 level course, so there are some prerequisites. You'd have to be you'd have to have gone through the existing Hawaiian language
Did you do any
courses.
kind of research as to where there might be more interest, whether it's in the communities where they have more Hawaiian?
So we did reach out to all of our vice chancellors for academic affairs when this resolution was posted to find out where everybody was standing in terms of Hawaiian language specific to this question. Obviously, Kauai has potentially the most connection to Ni'ihau. However, they expressed that they already have trouble finding faculty to teach Hawaiian generally, let alone in the specific interest. But you're right, there is going to be more, or potentially
No,
more
but,
interest
I
in
mean, We
Kauai.
have the opportunity to do things online. I'm just saying that.
True, yes.
If you reached out to, various communities, because you could have the entire state online at different locations.
That is true,
Yes.
absolutely.
So that's
And-
what I'm asking, was that looked at?
Well, since this particular resolution has come out, we have not looked at whether or not it could be offered online. I think there's also the concern that one of the faculty that could teach it has retired, so there's some work to still be done to build that out. But absolutely, online courses, especially in very specialized areas, is one of the things we're looking at more generally, so that we can be sure to reach our students that are in rural or
And this
remote areas.
particular teacher may be willing to teach online, so I think we should look at all
Mm-hmm.
various opportunities. Thank you.
I can see the challenges online, because you would have to have somebody that can teach that, and also create the online, and online is a little bit different. And
It
trying
is,
to get
yeah.
the Niihau dialect.
Right.
Could possibly, have some challenges with the technology and their language. So
Yeah, this is a very specialized course and a specialized expertise.
even many Hawaiians don't speak the dialect.
Exactly.
And there is, even within that area where there's controversy as to how certain words are pronounced, or the meaning of the words are.
Yes.
Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great segue into what I was just gonna say. Niihau it's got a special, unique need based upon this, and I get that. But in my experience with Hawaiian, we have regional dialects all the way across all the islands, and pronunciations, just what you were talking about, different words. How do you address that? And if we're addressing that, I kind of think of there's a more standardized Hawaiian taught, but then we have regional dialects like you'd find in any other language.
So you're going a little bit beyond my expertise in how we teach Hawaiian, but we do have Hawaiian language taught at University of Hawaii Hilo, University of Hawaii, well, at all of our universities, I believe. And so there are faculty who've been trained in different dialects and then are teaching according to their training. So yes, there are active conversations at the university over how to teach and how and what constitutes the teaching of Hawaiian language. But I can't say more than that because I'm,
I just intrigued that this brings up the conversation, like for instance, in Kohala, we have rain Naulu, which on the, what would you call it, west side of Maui, they know Naulu, but Ka'u doesn't necessarily know Naulu. And so just, how do you deal with all these different regional differences? And this obviously is a special need because of the uniqueness of Niihau.
absolutely, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions, members? Then we are going to direct into decision-making. Thank you with you, Chair. Okay, members, for Senate Concurrent Resolution 162153, this is requesting the department convened a shared decision-making committee for Kaipuni School in Kapolei. Recommendations that we amend Senate Concurrent Resolution and this current Senate Resolution, starting with page 3, members. On the top line, lines 1, principals from relevant, we're going to include elementary, middle, and high schools. Right now, elementary is not there, and they should be. And then followed up by designees, Nanakuli Elementary, Waianae Elementary. And then further down on the same page, around line 23, under number 6, we'll say instead of 3 community members, we'll do 4 community members. And under B, we'll say 1 parent of an elementary Kaipuni program. Okay, and I think, one more, on page 4, on line 6, under 5, we'll put statewide and the impact on current Kaipuni schools and programs. So with those technical amendments, is there any discussion, members?
No, Chair, I don't have quorum.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take our vote then on this side, and then we'll conclude. So, members, any discussion? Hearing none, the chair votes aye as we amend, voting on 162 and SR 153 to amend as discussed for the certain amendments to the measure. Chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye, Senator Fukunaga. Senator Hashimoto. Senator Court.
Aye.
Motion is adopted, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
And for the Committee on Hawaiian Affairs, SCR 162, SR 153, passing with amendments. Same recommendation, chair votes aye.
For Committee on Hawaiian Affairs, for SCR 162 and SR 153, recommendation of the chair is to pass with amendments. Chair Richards.
Aye.
Vice Chair Lamsal is an aye. Senator Ihara is excused. Senator Kyokolole is also excused or deferred. Aye. Chair recommendation is adopted.
Thank you.
I have to make one correction, members. On page 3, I said Nanakula Elementary and Waianae Elementary. It's not Waianae, it's Waiau Elementary. But it's Nanakula Elementary. So with that, we're going to move on for decision makings for SCR 202, SR 190, and this is requesting the University of Hawaii allow Olelo Hawaii pathway under the Nihihau dialect. Members, after the hearing the testimony, recommendation is that we amend the resolution to clarify the pathway could be a micro credential. And then give them the latitude if they want to take it further. Any discussion, members? Hearing none, chair votes aye.
So this is for SR 190 and SCR 202.
Correct.
Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye, Senator Fukunaga. Aye. Senator Hashimoto. Aye. Senator DeCourt. Aye. Which is adopted.
Okay, thank you, and that ends our joint
Well,
committee.
no, let me-
You gotta take the vote.
slow
You
down,
gotta take
Chair.
the vote.
Okay.
I know.
Committee-
Automation, I'm on
Yeah,
automation.
yeah, going too fast. Committee on Hawaiian Affairs, for SCR 202, SR 190, accepting the same amendments. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair.
For members on Committee on Hawaiian Affairs, for SCR 202 and SR 190, recommendation of the chair is passed with amendments. With the members present, anyone voting with reservations or no? Hearing none, chair information is adopted.
Okay, now we are adjourning the joint committee between education and Hawaiian Affairs. Call to order the Joint Committee on Education and Committee on Agriculture and the Environment. Welcome Senator Gabbard and his committee. We are on our 102 agenda items. One resolution, concurrent resolution 130 and Senate Resolution 122, urging the Department of Education and Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity to jointly develop a farmer to institution coordination plan that is aligned with the Aina Kitchen Network rollout. Testifying for this measure is DOE.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, Jesse Suki, Deputy Superintendent of Operations at the Department of Education. We provide testimony with comments and stand on our testimony, but in a short, just a summary of what we've had to say in there. We believe that we are meeting a lot of the reporting requirements in here. One is that we are entering into an MOA with several agencies to address some of the issues that DOE alone cannot address. We prepare the menus, we order the food, but CTAR is helping out with where the produce can be grown. The Department of Agriculture is part of that MOA, and several other agencies. And then we have a larger working group that we work with, including the Hawaii Farm Bureau and the private sector to figure out and farmers to figure out how we get food from the farm to the school and on that menu. So regarding the audit, I see my time's up, but if I...
Okay, we'll call you back for questions.
Okay, thank you.
Let me just get through this, it's really quick. Laura Zerbo on Zoom in support?
Not present,
Laura,
Chair.
are you there? Okay, Daniela Spoto for Appleseed in support, and Christine Andrews in support, not here. Anyone else wishing to testify in this measure? Okay, Jesse, you can come back and finish up what you were going to say.
Sure. With regard to the audit, as part of that, we're preparing a strategic plan for farm to table and to meet our requirements regarding the K through 12 food software starting in June 26. That'll replace any handwritten records. And we believe for these reasons that the resolution might not be necessary. Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Chair, any questions?
Go ahead, sorry, Mike.
Chair?
Chair.
Yeah, what benchmarks and timelines are in place to ensure that the department gets to 30% by 2030?
And to help me answer that question is one of my staff who's in the weeds on this, Annalise Tanner. If I could call her up. Sure.
Hello, Chair, Vice Chair, committee members.
Please introduce yourself.
I'm Annalisa Tanner, the School Food Administrator for the Hawaii Department of Education. We have our initial plan in place where we have updated the menu, are implementing new procurement methods, and are working on the regional kitchen, as the group is aware, and are currently working towards our 10% local purchasing, and then we'll be working towards a 30% by 2030. You asked for the benchmarks and the other initiatives. Is that the question? So those are our three initiatives around menu, procurement, and the regional kitchen.
And so how will you measure and then report that to the ledge?
Annually, we have to provide a report on our local purchasing, and that is including a look at how we have been purchasing our produce, our protein, and our groceries overall. We will be expanding that as we go forward. As I'm here, it's been just about 6 months, so will be my second report, and I have a better idea of what we need to be providing to help everyone understand our progress. And so that reporting is happening annually.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Richards?
Yeah. I appreciate Senator Gabbard putting this forth because the embracing of local agriculture has been woefully slow. What I had asked for 2 years ago was a tentative plan of a menu delivered to the legislature by now, because farmers need to gear up. And if they have an idea, and it's basically forward contracting, which is very common in agriculture, but without that, they don't know what the need is going to be. And so we get into this cycle. And having that schedule, is anybody talking to the farmers?
Yes, sir. We are working very closely with the Department of Agriculture, the ADC, and the Farm Bureau and CTAR providing our menus for next year and for the regional kitchen launch, and the volumes of every product that we need for the menu for both of those years. And then we're actually having an event on May 14th at the Wahiawa Value Added Center with over 80 farmers and distributors, so that we can help connect farmers with distribution if they need it. And we're going over what our menus are and the volumes that we need. So that is absolutely taking place.
Okay, and we will get a report on that, as Senator Gabbard. We will see that very shortly. I know you said you've had one report. We'd like to see another one with performance. And the reason I'm pushing this a little hard is because we all talk about it. You serve 100,000 meals a day, which is a great way forward for agriculture in this state. But there's going to be stutter steps if we don't coordinate. And you talked about Department of Agriculture, government. You talked about ADC, government. You talked Farm Bureau. Now you're talking to the farmers. And so that's where I'm pushing.
And I've been speaking with our beef producers on multiple islands. In this last week, we've been talking directly with citrus producers and lettuce producers. We've been targeting the farmers who produce and the producers who are growing and producing the items that we buy the most of, so that we're making the biggest impact as we shift.
Okay, so thank you, chairs. I appreciate that.
Questions on this side, Senator Kidani?
So when are you planning to meet with the local farmers, et cetera, as to what kind of products you're expecting so that they can start planning and growing?
Our farmer and distributor event is on May 14th. And then we've been talking with
May 14th,
May
where
14th.
and what time?
It's at the Wahiawa Value Added Center from 1 to 3 p.m.
and you're looking to attract the farmers and the people who are interested in working at the regional kitchen?
It's not for folks who are interested at working in the regional
Just
kitchen.
farmers.
This event is specifically for farmers. And then we're including distributors so that farmers who don't have the capacity to distribute on their own can make that connection there, and we can hopefully sort of fast track the process.
And that will include the types of menus or the produce that you're looking?
Yes, absolutely. We'll be going through the menus and the volumes of the product that we need for next year and when the regional kitchen launches.
Thank you.
Further questions? I have a couple. Senator, I have a question.
So I guess when you're going out to the farmers, are those guaranteed that you're going to purchase them? It's not an option to purchase?
It depends on the situation. So the farms that we're currently working with, those are, guarantees. And then it really depends on the distributor at this point, since we're working through distributors, since we don't have a warehouse or processing plant yet. And so we're helping to facilitate those conversations, and we're using our voice with the distributors to help them understand this relationship that we're building. For the event on May 14th, we can't do any guarantees. We do have to go through the procurement process. And we have had several bills that are still in process this session that will help us with the forward contracting and the small purchases in which we can guarantee.
So what is the distributor's role in all this? Because if you tell them to buy as much local as you can, and then they got to supplant the rest to give you a constant stream, is that conversation happening? Because to me, it's on them, right? They got to go buy from these farmers if you're not planning to directly purchase from the farmers.
Yeah, so we're currently now having our distributors provide us their local purchasing percentages every single month. And then we're doing a comparison against how they performed the month before and how they're performing against the other islands, since we have a different distributor on each island. And in fact, we had a distributor who didn't provide their local purchasing information for this month, and we exercised our contract. We said, let me see the contract language. They're not meeting the contract, and then we immediately got that information. And so I think we're starting to use our voice and with our distributors to really help them understand how important of an initiative this is and how we can only do it together. It takes the farmers, the distributors, and us all working in tandem.
So what is your conversation with, I guess, the federal government and who they're contracting with? Because my understanding is there was some disconnect with whoever the federal distributors were, right? So then they weren't using them, so they're just using state dollars, because essentially on Maui, what happened was they contracted an Oahu company to be a distributor in Maui, right? And they were bringing all this Oahu stuff, and so it didn't really make any sense. So I think there needs to be some coordination between USDA dollars and state dollars, right, to really make this work.
Yes, and we've really implemented that this year as well. So the USDA commodity program is called Favors. We do have a separate Favors distributor on each island. They're based on their island where they're distributing. And
Is that a new requirement, that they're based on the island that they're distributing? Or because I think even though they have a base there, if they're going to bring in other products from different islands, it doesn't matter if they're local there, right?
So we don't get to select the DoD Favors distributors.
I get it, but is there some
know.
communication though to tell them where we're going? And if they're not on the same page, then there's a problem, right?
Yeah. So actually on the neighbor islands, the DoD distributors are the same as our supplemental distributors. And so they're doing that local reporting for both streams. And then on Oahu, it's two separate distributors. And we're doing the same thing where we're looking at a monthly basis, how much of the federal dollars we're spending. We're on track to spend all of our allocated dollars this year. And in fact, Kauai and Big Island spent all of theirs and are now drawing down our excess funds. And so we're looking each month at how much of our allocation we've used and then how much we have increased in local spend. And I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but every single island has made progress in the USDA Favors over last year, because we've really focused on lettuce and citrus, which are items in the DoD Favors that we can push here locally.
But has there been communication to ensure that what happened in previous years never happens again?
I wasn't here, so I can't
Well,
speak to
but you got to
that,
learn
and
from what happened, right?
Yeah.
So we don't repeat what
I
happened.
think that we're on a good track where we have our distributors by island, and we're looking at the local spend and the total spend every month, and then following
But I
up
think
with
you're not
them.
answering my question. You haven't said that you're communicating with them, and that's what's concerning me right now.
With the distributors?
No, with whatever the USDA
With
funds
the-
are, right?
Right.
To make sure that, yes, you may not directly control it, but I think the ecosystem has to be going into the same direction.
So we are in contact with DLA. They have to add, this is very much in the weeds, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
it
a
has to be
detailed
in the weeds.
person,
If we're going to
so-
make this successful, it's all about being
Yeah,
in the weeds.
We're in contact with DLA because they have to put the local items on and take them off, and they're following up with the distributors, so they understand our push towards local. I can't say whether they specifically will always in perpetuity award a distributor on each
And we're not
island,
saying
but-
that, but I think if you're not
I'm
on the
sorry.
same page of where you're going,
Yeah.
right?
I can say with confidence that we're on the same page. Everybody has made a big effort this year and understands our commitment to local. And there's a lot of administrative work that goes into having the local food through the USDA commodity program. And all of our partners on it, each person, each stakeholder has been working and doing their part to increase our local spend in the DoD commodity program.
Okay, well, my bottom line is you cannot repeat what was happening, right? And to
Yeah.
say that you weren't here, that's not an excuse either, right?
Yeah.
And so I think we just got to be all on the same page of where we're going to moving forward. So thank you, Chair.
Can I just follow up one quick one, I'll get back to you. So is this in line with the nearly $2 million of federal funds for local produce that was left on the table?
So for the favors program?
I'm not sure if it's a favors program, I would imagine it might be.
Oh,
But
I
it was
think-
$2 million that was left on the table, wasn't spent. And so like Senator Hashimoto, I want to make sure that, this doesn't happen again.
Yeah, so we're on track to spend all of our favors dollars this year. And as I
And
shared,
last year, we didn't spend the 2 million, or what did we spend?
I would have to pull the numbers to be exactly sure on what we did last year. I'm very much steeped in this year.
Okay, well, you need to be deep in the history, otherwise
Understood.
you're not gonna, because there's a tendency for many of our departments, including DOE, make the same mistakes or repeat themselves, and we don't want that. Senator DeCord.
So I'm going to pivot a little bit, kind of going to the system and the modernization, because the RESO actually calls out the DOE's reliance on handwritten records. So it's a two-part question, but number one, why is DOE still operating without a digital tracking system? And then number two, what is the timeline for you guys to centralize and have a verifiable system?
So the procurement process for the software took quite a long time, and we finalized the contract in February. We're currently writing the rollout timeline, and we'll be rolling out the software through next year. We're starting a pilot this April and May, and then piloting through the summer at our summer sites, and we'll begin rolling out by complex area in August.
Okay, so it will be live in August of this year?
Yes, in some complex areas, and then fully rolled out by the end of the school year.
Sorry, what school year?
By the end of next school year, so by the end of May 27.
Okay, so it will be live this August, 2026?
Yes.
And then it will be fully functioning next year,
Yes.
2027, August?
End of school year.
End of
By the
school
end
year.
of school year, we'll be rolling out by complex area.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, just to follow up on that. So how long ago we set the 10% requirement to meet 10% buying local by 2025? Was in 2020 we set that mandate?
The 30 by 30, that was the legislative mandate, right?
Right, but then you had to be 10% by 2025, which you didn't hit. You only got, what, 5.43%. So we knew this back in 2020? Yeah, so from 2020 to now, only now we're doing some of this stuff? I mean, only now you're talking to the farmers? Only now we're doing these things? I mean, that's probably the reason why you guys only got 5.43%, right? But again, this is typical of DOE. You guys are so delayed, or you don't, and according to the audit, is that you just didn't take it seriously, or you didn't want to do it according to the audit. I'm not saying that, that's what the audit said. So, you know, the reason that the department is not ready to develop a coordinated plan to align with local farmer capacity with the AEN Kitchen Network rollout is like, so why haven't you done it and developed it sooner?
Well, we're doing it now and have been.
Okay, that's what I keep hearing. We're doing it now when it should have been done yesterday, right? I mean, that's why the goals are set, right? To give you benchmarks. You haven't done it. And what guarantees, again, you know, you might be gone, but before 2030, you might be gone. You might be gone too.
I'll be here.
How do you know? You might not be here.
I'm not old enough to retire.
No, but you might not be here, trust me. There are changes that go on all the time, and people's jobs somehow gets, you know, and then we're gonna hear again, oh, yeah, we're gonna start now. I mean, that's what every time we have a turnover. Oh, I knew, oh, I'm gonna start now. You know, it's like, and having been here in the Senate for 26 years in the Senate alone, I've heard all these excuses, and that's why sometimes I sound very frustrated and I'm passionate because I'm tired of the same thing. And you guys are being paid good money. I'm sorry, you get paid more than a lot of people. So we expect more. We expect you to be the experts in the field. We expect you to be proactive. We expect these things to happen. And yet, more and more money we spend. Didn't we already have a software for the cafeteria workers, and half of them never used the software?
That's what the audit said, yeah.
Yeah, that's what the audit says. So now we're getting this new software, is that right? That you're going out, February, contract, another software. What's the guarantee? And I remember talking about that software that you guys had. Why are we spending all this money on the software? And the software didn't work. Told us it's gonna do it, didn't do it. Cafeteria workers weren't using it. Who's monitoring it? Who are going in and teaching the cafeteria workers? And I know you weren't here, but the people behind you have been here. Okay, and whether you've been here or not, responsibility, you know, 6 months ago to get the project going.
That's fair, Senator. We're here now and we're very passionate about this work. And I know that Annalisa is passionate about it too. And just for the training, it was training on what was gonna happen for the new software. So,
Well, just know I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna be here next year, and I'm gonna ask the same questions, and you better have different answers than we're doing it now.
That's
Trust
fair.
me.
That's fair, Senator.
Yeah. Senator, questions?
Well, no, I'm going to be here too, and I will be asking.
Senator Cabinet, you're gonna be here.
I'll be here.
You're gonna be here, right? We're all gonna be
Look
here.
forward to
Okay,
meeting the challenge. We really do.
Okay, well, just hope that you're here to meet that challenge.
Me too.
Question, Senator Kirani.
So regarding the May 14th meeting you're having at the Wahiawa Value Added Center, 1 to 3 p.m., this is for farmers, distributors? What about daily personnel, cooks, whatever?
Just for farmers.
No, it's for farmers.
Yeah, just to get the contracts.
Okay, so you guys already know what the cooks need for the spaces and whatever in.
You haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
Well, not for this particular meeting, but those are discussions that have to happen and will happen.
Yeah, I just want to make sure you're not putting the cart before the horse.
I don't have a cart yet.
Do they have the horse? Okay, just checking.
Okay, it's getting late, so we're kind of getting tuning here. So anybody else have questions? Hearing none, thank you very much. We
Thank
are
you.
in decision making. What is the pleasure of the chair? Any amendments? Chair, no amendments?
Nope.
We have good reporting data. Happy with the reporting data that's going to be given? Okay, with that recommendation that we, for SCR 130, SR 122, that we pass as is. Any discussion? Hearing none, chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye, Senator Fukunaga. Aye. Hashimoto. Aye. Andy Court.
Aye.
Measures adopted, Madam
Thank
Chair.
you.
Same recommendation for AEN. Any discussion? Chair votes aye. Vice Chair?
On SCR 130, SR 122, recommendation of the chair to pass unamended. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Decoit is excused. Senator Rode.
Aye.
Senator Wah is excused. Chair, you have, motion is passed.
Thank you, members.
Okay, thank you. We're going to end the joint hearing. Call to order the Committee on Education. We are on SCR 154, SR 145, 154, 145. That's how they did that. Urging the Department of Education to add tax instruction to its financial literacy graduation requirement. And we have DOE. Heidi.
Hi, good afternoon, Chair Kim, Vice Chair Kidani, and members of the committee. I'm Heidi Armstrong, Department of Education, and the department appreciates the intent of SCR 154. Tax education is extremely important. I'd like to note that the requested tax instruction is already embedded within the mandatory financial literacy standards taking effect for the incoming freshmen in the 26-27 school year. Thank you.
Okay, let's see, we have Johnny May Perry, no, I'm sorry, yeah, Johnny May Perry in support. Anyone else wishing to testify on this measure? Hearing none. Members' questions? I have a question, Heidi. So when you said that this tax portion is already embedded in the financial literacy, is that where they have the 4 choices?
Well,
The financial literacy?
Well, what standard is the standards. And so when reading this resolution and looking through the standards, tax information is included in theme 1, earning income in the standards, also in theme 3, saving, theme 4, investing. So then I looked at the programs and the curriculum that can be used that is vetted to fulfill what these standards are asking for. And when I looked at the Bonsai and Everfi and TurboTax, the vetted curriculums, the themes in there that relate to taxes are what are taxes and why they exist, federal income tax, tax brackets, filing status, paychecks and withholding, the basic steps of filing a tax return. It doesn't go into advanced tax returns, or they don't go into advanced tax returns, deductions and tax credits, tax refunds and payments, planning basics, and then there are real world simulations for students to practice.
Okay, so the second to last be resolve clause says resolve that tax instruction should include but not be limited to how to complete a 1040 form. Is that part of it?
Basic, so it's depending on the program. So it's basic form. One of the programs actually has them fill out a TurboTax form.
One of
The vetted curriculums.
Which is dependent upon who?
The vetted curriculums that have shown to address all of.
Right, but it's not, but your whole literacy program have 4 choices that the schools can make as to
Correct.
what programs.
Right.
So you could have an async program on how to fill out your tax form?
Correct. And they have simulations where the students actually fill out a
So
form.
then we really can just go to TurboTax and not have you guys even do it if that's the case.
If that's your choice.
No, that's not my choice, but that's what's happening. If that's what you're gonna give them, just, an async,
No,
which is
these
why
are-
async don't count. We don't look at async courses as being satisfied for the to graduate. So it also says, understanding W-4 forms, payroll deduction, federal versus state income taxes, sales, property taxes, and tax brackets. So again, that's all embedded in the different programs.
Well, I gave you the general, and as we continue to implement these programs, even in our financial literacy face-to-face classes, I do think this resolution holds great value, and we do want our kids to know this. So that's the feedback and the monitoring that we can do to ensure that whatever program is used, we are seeing that kids are getting the exposure and the information and the practice on this.
Okay, thank you. Members, any other questions? Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think, let's see. We are on our final resolutions, Senate Concurrent Resolution 199 and Senate Resolution 187, requesting Department of Education to establish a framework that places responsibility and accountability for monitoring all capital improvement projects and repair and maintenance projects within each complex area with the complex area leadership. We do have Kitayashi for DOE. I guess that is Jesse.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Jesse Suki, Deputy Superintendent of Operations for the Department of Education. We submitted testimony with comments. In short, we have concerns. The Office of Facilities and Operations serves an important role in coordinating construction across the 258 schools across the state. We want to be sure that proper permits are being gotten, that construction is happening safely, that it's meeting the legislative priorities when we get appropriations. We do have a process in place for prioritizing projects, and that's made possible by the help from the legislature to have a lump sum fund, and those projects are prioritized every year with our CASs and principals. So we do have an ongoing conversation and discussion with CASs and principals about these priorities. And as I mentioned previously, schools do have an opportunity to do school-initiated projects in coordination with OFO to ensure that compliance issues are met and that projects are safe. CASs and districts just don't have the capacity at this point to carry on what the expertise that OFO has.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll get back to that. Sit there. Johnny May Perry in opposition. Susan Piccola Davis. Thank you for patiently waiting.
Chair Kim, Vice Chair Kidani, and rest of the members of the committee, thank you for having me, for giving me time to testify. I'm speaking on my own behalf. My name is Susan Piccola Davis. I'm not a member of any group or anything. I recommend that an amendment that states the Department of Education is requested to establish a framework in the Office of Facilities Management that improves the responsibility and accountability for monitoring all capital improvement projects and repair and maintenance projects, period, and cross the rest of it out. And I'm well aware of what you're trying to do. There's been years of problems with the whole issue, and it's circles. We keep coming around in circles. But I think it's a misconception that a framework can be established that places the responsibility and accountability for monitoring these projects into the complex area superintendents. And there was something in there that said empowerment. I don't even think that's empowerment. The empowerment is being misplaced. The Office of Facilities Management owns this process. You can't commingle the CASs and the OFO. I respect hearing Jesse's testimonies. However, we're not moving forward. We're stuck. It's quicksand. I wouldn't even be able to offer you my opinion of how to fix it, because regardless of if it goes to the past, we're still in the present. And what's happened in the past, we're just dragging it along. Nothing's getting done. I appreciate you trying to figure out a way to put this somewhere. The only thing I can think of is that you guys think the CASs are doing such a great job that they would be able to fix this.
You'll explain.
So, let me see if I got some. Oh, no, that is pretty much my final.
And your time is come to an end.
I just don't think that, I appreciate what you're trying to do. I understand what's been going on. Probably 4 years of no production. And.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Appreciate your.
So remember,
candid
I
remarks.
want the CASs crossed out and stuff it back into the Office of Facilities Management and get them doing their job. Thank you.
Okay, Joey, and let me just clarify. The intention is not to take it away from the Office of Facilities and Management. And yes, your recommendation is absolutely spot on, that they need to improve their responsibility and accountability for monitoring all capital improvement projects and repair maintenance. That's their job. That's what they're getting paid for. We're not taking that away from them. We're not taking away anything. All we're doing is adding to say that if you're a complex area superintendent, you should know of these projects. You should be monitoring and know which schools, which projects aren't moving. And I'm going to bring up an example on Kalihi-Waiana Bridge that the superintendent should have known. Complex superintendent should have known about this project. She was CC'd on it. They talked about it. And when I approached her, she goes, I think I heard about it. No, somebody needs to be on the closer level to the schools, have these projects, because if you try to go to your tracking is not updated. There's no information. So where do you get that information from? The schools should be able to call their superintendent, and trust me, all the principals came out, all saying what a great job the CASs are doing. So let's give them work to do, to monitor, not to be responsible, not to be responsible in monitoring. That's what it says, not be responsible for the projects, but monitoring to see, okay, Farrington High School didn't have any lights. They should have lights. How are they going to play night games? Okay, Farrington High School didn't have the bleachers for the visiting if we're not going to do it now. No, they don't, the superintendents don't know anything about that. But that's why they're area complex superintendent. They should know what's going on in their complex. And the principals should be able to contact them and saying, hey, what's going on? Why is Kalihi-Waiana not having the bridge when the legislature put in $3 million, when the monies were released by the governor, when the DOE went in and made a case for this, health and safety, and then the project gets yanked and the principal is not told and the SUCAS I heard about it. Come on, that's not acceptable. Somebody's got to be monitoring these things, and it should be the CAS. I mean, they make enough money to have this responsibility. Questions? We're finished taking public testimony. Members, any questions? Senator Hashimoto.
So I guess, Deputy, I guess I'm trying to figure out where the DOE is coming from in terms of OFO, because part of my confusion a little bit is why doesn't, the Office of Facilities collaborate more with your business managers and your ASAs, right? Because I think the ASAs are the one in my mind who is supposed to be bird dogging a lot of these projects because there's just too much for OFO to do. Why they're under the CAS, I'm not sure, and why they're not under OFO, I'm not sure. But, I think my understanding of and how I operate with my schools is that I expect at least most of the business managers and the ASAs to understand what's going on at the school level, because there is really no interface with OFO. If not, you have one person at OFO you got to call, but at least these ASAs essentially kind of know what is going on at the schools. It may not be the ASA in every complex, but at least I think they have a vice principal, or the principal is essentially expected to take on facilities roles. So I don't know if what you need to tell us is if you don't want us to move forward with this kind of thing, what is your plan to make sure that there is more accountability? And don't tell me that it's going to be more jock and you're going to have Bowers and Kubota go follow the project, because I think there's just not enough people around from the DOE to monitor projects.
Well, I'm hoping, and, the goal is of the modernization of our IT is to have better tools for CASs and principals to see and track these projects that are at the campuses. But in addition to that, there's always, like you say, folks at the school can always contact us, and, when we hear about things, we'll contact them, and, communication can be better. And that's what we're striving to do with the modernization of the IT.
But
It's one tool.
is there no reorg in how people are reporting to whom? Right? Because at the end of the day, that's the business manager's job, is to know what is going on at the schools, right? And then for them then to have a different reporting line than to OFO, it just never made sense to me. So if you're just saying it's going to be this software that fixes the problem, I'm kind of telling you, I don't think that's the problem. I think every complex is essentially doing something different. And I think there needs to be some streamlining, especially on how projects are going to be managed, because I will guarantee you that those who have more engaged business managers and ASAs, I think projects move way smoother than those who are disengaged.
I'd agree, yeah.
Right, but you're not taking advantage uniformly across the system to take advantage of those positions to make sure that projects are got into the finish line. And I want to know why.
Yeah, it's definitely a hub and spoke model in a institution this large with so much facilities, like over 4,000.
Yeah, but for facilities, it needs to be more uniform, though.
Yeah, and we do have, processes in place, and, maybe we need to do more training, more outreach. We can do better in that area.
Right, but what I'm asking is, what is the HR plan for this? If there is no HR plan, then that just makes me a little bit concerned. So are you doubling down and just saying, okay, we need to wait for the software?
That's one tool, that can help.
Right.
More training, we have guidance.
No, I'm talking about reorg.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not saying that, if you're just toying around with training, I'm talking about you got to move bodies to make this. That means I'm afraid that you're not getting our whole point here at the legislature of what we're trying to go with facilities, which is we need to kind of reinvent what facilities is doing. And if that's the direction that you're not going, that does concern me. So you're telling me there's no reorg plan for facilities?
Well, we did some reorg right before I came on to help focus OFO on project delivery, so took out some extraneous
Right, you just
things.
added another
Yeah,
deputy superintendent, right? Okay, is that the whole plan? Like, I hope there's more to that plan than just adding another deputy.
Yeah, there was more than that, taking out some of the extraneous things that the branch office was doing, so they could focus on project delivery. So we're seeing some of those things work its way. Training, improving the software, filling vacancies, these are all things that we have to get done in order to help improve.
But there is no more reorg then that you're telling me that we should be able to look forward to?
Well, we're in the process of going through a strategic plan, so we may identify different ways we can change workflow, move things around, but at this point, I can't say that there's a reorg plan for OFO. Perhaps as we get through the strategic plan, we might see where we can move things.
And I get it. You need to have time, but I think we just don't have time here. And I think I told you, I've told the superintendent that facilities is the area that we really want to see reform. And I think that is something that we're throwing something on the table, but if you're not then giving us something back, how do you think we should react that you're being like, okay, we still got to study it some more, right? Where we're throwing you something at least to try and adapt to. But if you don't come up with your own plan, we're going to keep throwing stuff back at you, and we're going to be unhappy because we don't see the changes that we wish to see. And these are important projects, right? I'm going to, exactly all my projects at my island that I'm working with right now, that I'm becoming a project manager because I'm so unhappy with how DOE is moving projects. That should be unacceptable that a senator has to go call to make sure that projects are moving, right? That should be your job. And your ASA's job and your CAS's job, right? Why does that have to be me to make those calls? Because the air conditioning isn't being turned on for 2 years, right? Anyway, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. No, I follow up on that. I'm the one that calling about the road that needs to be repaired at Farrington High School. I'm the one they called, and when I call the facilities person, they don't know what's going on. Yeah, they don't know what's going on at the school. So doesn't it make sense that the CASs should be aware of what's going on in their complex? Not necessarily this framework, but shouldn't they know what's going on at each of the schools?
They should.
So they can communicate with the principals when there is a problem, and that's basically what this resolution is saying. Okay, maybe we can refine, we will refine the language so it's clearer on what we're trying to do. But, we heard the same thing in an earlier resolution, the 201, where we talked about this job orders, that the principals they're not being communicated with. And again, who's the closest person supposedly, when they came in and testified, is the CAS. So why shouldn't the CAS, you've divided up the schools so it's manageable. You guys wanted 15 area complex superintendents, you got them. So now they should know what projects are going, what projects are not, what has some problems, or at least be knowledgeable to understand that. And so, that communication, as we said earlier, the principals are not getting that information. And so they got to go somewhere to get it. So, the CAS is the most likely. If you folks want to keep your CASs, they should be the ones. And maybe when they know that they're responsible for monitoring, maybe they'll put the fire under you guys, so you would get your software and your whatever it is you need to update them, so that they're not going to be in the dark, right? So that needs to happen. A good example is on this Kalihi Waiana, when they first went out and asked for the money to be released, they CC'd the principal, they CC'd all these people. Of course, they never CC'd me. But then when they went out for project for Mitsunaga to go ahead and spend money for this project, they didn't CC anybody. And then when they went and lapsed the funds and canceled the project, because they said that, the state doesn't own the bridge, the county owns the bridge. 4 years later, after they asked for the release, 4 years later, only now they know they didn't. And then Jadine didn't CC anybody, didn't CC the principal, didn't CC the CAS, didn't CC anybody. Okay, so there's no communication going on. And then when we went to this, the tracking is not filled in. It says updated 5/20/25, no update. From 2021, no update. So are you folks fixing this tracking system?
Yes, that's one of the IT upgrades I'm talking about.
So when is this going to be online that we can see it? Because my understanding is the reason it's not being done is because personnel don't want us to know. They don't want to be transparent.
I hope that's not right.
Just what I'm telling you is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that shouldn't be right.
From inside the DOE, so I'm just relating to you. This is a small town, and people know people, and people talk. And so that's what they're telling us. They're telling me.
I'll look into that. That's not good.
Yeah, that is not good. But I've been complaining about this for years. It's not been updated. Not been updated. I don't understand. And so then we have this kind of resolution, and if you folks want to make sure that people are doing a good job, then why wouldn't you want them to give them the responsibility to know about these projects and manage, help keep track of it and monitor it for the schools? Wouldn't it make it better? It couldn't hurt. Yeah, but then you guys are opposed.
No, we're not opposed. We just
Well, that's what you
can
said.
comments.
You don't want to do it. So, okay. Senator DeCourt.
Thank you. Last year, the department was only able to complete 22 CIP projects. And with what my colleague had mentioned about reorging, is that not a serious process you folks are looking at pursuing?
I need to follow up on that number. We completed hundreds of projects.
Well, that was mentioned in a prior hearing, so that was stated on the record. But
Is
if that was inaccurate, 22 CIP projects were completed.
Is that a particular kind of project? Yeah, I
don't
can
know.
follow up on that.
Yeah, capital improvement
Yeah.
projects. And so I think that currently, when the department has unspent CIP funds in the billions of dollars, it calls for grave concerns. And so that means that our facilities in our communities are not getting the attention it needs, which poses a safety hazard. And so right now, these are the projects in my community, okay?
That's the
Sorry, it's
deferred
a little big.
maintenance. That's the
Deferred maintenance, CIP, all of that. I don't want to get caught up into the semantics because I feel like you tend to want to stay there. But
Well, it's
basically,
important because deferred maintenance are not projects, they're estimates too of what we need to get to. And when it's prioritized by CASs and principals in the district, then we come in and ask for CIP to get those done. And then, they become actual projects, right? It's important to make the distinction because we want to get through them all.
okay. So I think my point that I'm trying to make here is that the department is not reflecting confidence to be able to complete these projects. And to be able to, I guess, maybe suggest that the CASs might be able to help with that. A lot of the projects in my community, I have had to push forward on my own. I would say about a quarter of my office's time, resources, calls, follow-ups are on DOE projects to make sure that it's moving forward. And so I would say my office, 25% of our job is doing your guys' job. So when we're posing a proposal to reorg, it's because we cannot continue to hire people, at least not in my office, to do your folks' job. And so as example, our Alps school, Papahanao Kaiona, if it wasn't for me pushing that thing forward, that thing would be dead and gone at this point, and we would have kids still operating out of a temporary space in Nanakuli. So here I am in my capacity with my office having to follow up and make sure that the ball continues to move. Because when the department has unspent CIP funds of $2.7 billion, that just reflects that you folks are not responsible enough to move the projects forward. So we have to find something. And adding more positions is not the answer. It's obvious that there has been more positions and the department is top heavy and our schools have just not progressed. If anything, we've declined. So what is your response to that when we have this resolution? And to be fair, your testimony does say with comments, but it leans towards the unsupported tone because according to your testimony, it says that you folks, and I'm paraphrasing here, that your folks' system is in the process and it is working. And it's clearly not working. And so when you have a centralized system, as example, the CAS, that's responsible for moving projects forward, you tend to have favoritism issues. You tend to have maybe schools that get more than other schools. And that is very...
We definitely do not have a favoritism. The board sets a policy that we follow about equity. And when we go through the process of, we're just talking about deferred maintenance. When we go through the process of prioritizing deferred maintenance, which the Board of Education approves, we have a table to make sure that all the complexes get about the same amount of money. And the board approves the projects after the CASs and the principals have had an opportunity to prioritize. And then we come to the ledge for an appropriation. And if we get the appropriation, we work on the projects.
Okay, let me just trace back to my comment that I made with favoritism, because that's exactly what's happening in my community. And for you to tell me that that's not happening is very offensive to me, because I see it firsthand with my own eyes. I'm in touch with every single head custodian of my class, of my district. So they report to me, but they can't do it in public because they're afraid of retaliation. So if you're here disputing my real life experience with actual workers on the property, it just goes to show that you're not open to the discussion. So for you to speak on behalf of my community and say that is not what's happening is very offensive, and it's very insulting to not just myself, but the people that are on the property and to the parents that have to send their schools. So I would caution you the next time that you want to disregard a senator's comments based on her real life experiences. So please reserve your opinions when I'm speaking on facts.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way. I was just only talking about the deferred maintenance. And if there's issues, other issues with work orders and things, we want to help and make it better. We really do. I do.
Intending on helping and executing are two different things, and you folks have proven that you are unable to execute. So I'll just end the conversation there. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, members, any other questions? Hearing none, we are going, that was the last item on the agenda. Thank goodness. So we are going into decision-making. Members, I'm going to go right into it. Starting out with Senate Concurrent Resolution 140-132, urging Department of Education and University of Hawaii Manoa to adopt the energy savings performance contracting recommendation. You know, I was just rereading the Hawaii State Energy Office, and they did state that Department of Education previously initiated an invitation for proposals, an IFP, for an ESP project in 2024. However, the procurement was canceled due to the expiration of the State Procurement Office SPO vendor contract list. So again, you know, these are kinds of things that they started and then it didn't get finished. So I'm glad that hopefully we're going to get this going. Recommendation is, don't think there's any technical amendments. Distinction between energy performance and energy saving performance contracting per the Hawaii State Revised Statute. I'm not sure what that means, that to make that distinction. Okay, great, thank you. Members, any discussion on any recommendations further than what's already in the resolution? Hearing on the chair votes aye.
Okay, for SR 132 and SCR 140, chair votes. This is unamended or amended?
With technical amendments.
With amendments. Chair votes aye, vice chair votes aye. Senator Fukunaga.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, it is a proposed SD1, so we are adopting the SD1 with further amendments, technical amendments.
Correct.
So SD1, still SD1.
They don't have SD1 written here, but okay. Senator Hashimoto? Aye. And Senator Decourt?
Aye.
Measures adopted.
Thank you. We are on SCR 197, SR 185. This is asking the audit to conduct comprehensive performance and financial audit for the department's education's capital improvement backlog. Point well taken, the definition, I think we talked about the definition. If it's a CIP project and the legislature approves money for it, and there's any kind of appropriation as a CIP project, it's a CIP project. And according to the auditor's report, he says, if the committee wants to understand how the Department of Education's capital improvement program is performing, for instance, whether it's performing efficiently and effectively, we can conduct a performance audit of the capital improvement program, which is what we want to go ahead and amend this resolution to make it clear that we just don't want a reporting, because we do get the reporting from the DOE. We want to see whether they're performing and effectively and efficiently. And they said they could do that. I also want to include in there to look at the yearly lapse that happens every year, lapse, lapse projects as well. So if we can amend that. Members, any discussion on the recommendations or any other suggestions? Hearing none, chair votes aye on amending SCR 197 and SR 185.
Chair votes aye, vice chair votes aye. Senator Fukunaga. Aye. Senator Hashimoto. Aye. Senator Decourt.
Aye.
Measures adopted.
Thank you. We are on SCR 78, SR 82, urging Department of Education to strengthen menstrual health education initiatives and adopt a comprehensive menstrual cycle curriculum. Let's see, this is, I wish we didn't have to have a resolution, but obviously because we need to direct the DOE, we will move on this resolution. I did want to put in there the concern of having, and I'm not sure if we can turn it into a whereas, but also in the committee report, as that giving the option or fourth or fifth grade, that we should have a system, common start date, so that there's equity across the board for education for menstrual cycles curriculum. And that, let's see, what was the other thing? I think that was it. Any discussion, members? Any recommendations? Hearing none. Do we need technical amendments for clarity and consistency as well? Okay, so with that, chair votes aye on SD1.
For SR 82 and SCR 79, this is to pass.
78.
I'm sorry, 78 to pass with amendments. Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Hashimoto. Senator Decourt.
Aye.
Measures adopted, Madam
Thank
Chair.
you. On SCR 154, SR 145, to add tax instruction to its financial literacy graduation. On this measure, I certainly want to make it clear in the committee report that we would like to have this part of the financial literacy, but that it would be consistent with other measures that we have passed, where we want it to be a standalone, or we want it to be embedded into the program and not async. Any questions, members, any discussions? Hearing none. And also the adding in any technical or non-substantive amendments. Chair votes aye.
For SR 145 and SCR 154 to pass with amendments. Chair votes
Thank
aye.
you. And finally, on the last.
Wait, let me take the vote.
Thank you.
Chair votes
Sorry.
aye. Vice Chair votes aye.
I'm going like that.
Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Hashimoto. Senator Decourt.
Aye.
Measures adopted.
Thank you. Okay, Senate Concurrent Resolution 199, Senate Resolution 187. Certainly would like to adopt the recommendation made by Susan Davis, and it's stressing that the Department of Education requested to establish a framework in the Office of Facilities that improves their responsibility and accountability for monitoring all capital improvement projects and repair and maintenance. And at the same time, make it clear that we are requesting that the complex area superintendents monitor these things, not be responsible for the projects, not be responsible for any of that, but just monitoring and communicating with their principals, their area complex areas, and be knowledgeable about what's happening with the program. So there is a communication that goes on, and that also to add in here that the principals and the CASs are educated into the process, CIP process. Yes, Chair.
I would like to also recommend, if possible, if we could have the area legislator be included in that report. And the only reason that I say that is because it seems, for the sake of transparency and appropriate communication, that we have to tell them to report back to us in a bill, in the form of a law, so that we also get the right information as well. So just a recommendation, however you decide to proceed. Thank
That
you.
recommendation to somehow include the area legislator in the process of the communication on these projects as they occur.
Area legislators.
Yes, area legislators. And to add in there, if we can, that they update this CIP jobs trackers tracker that's not tracking. So, any others? Hearing none. Any technical non-substantive? No, I think we're good on that. So with that, chair votes aye.
SR 187 and SCR 199 to pass with amendments. Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Fukunaga. Senator Hashimoto. And Senator Decourt.
Aye.
Measures adopted, Madam Chair.
Okay, and with that, we're done. Thank you, members. Appreciate your patience.